Welcome to the Concerned Parents of Young Athletes podcast, where we dismantle the confusion and provide the facts on structural management, a system designed to prevent injuries, understand the unique structures of every young athlete, and provide effective treatments all based on structure, science, and common sense. Episode 3, Femoral Head Heights, the most important measurement. Hi, I'm Dr. Tim Maggs. What most docs and therapists don't know is that every human has a very unique biomechanical structure. It's their architectural structure. And after having done literally tens of thousands of these examinations over the last 30 years, I have come to the conclusion that the most important measurement of the body is femoral head height. So if you can see that line across the hips, that is the measurement of femoral head heights. How can I make such a bold statement? If you think of sports injuries, generally they're talking about Achilles tendonitis, ACL injuries, hamstring injuries, hip injuries, or move up the back, low back injuries, neck injuries. So what happens is that femoral head height is the foundation of the whole pelvis and spine. With any foundation that is tipped, there's total chaos from that. So let's talk lower extremities. The weight distribution going through the lower extremities will be uneven. And the more it's tipped, the more uneven that weight distribution. Now, the way the body works, and I've been treating athletes for 47 years, is that from the moment a child stands to every day in their life, there are areas of their body that are taking on more stress than they can handle. That stress is accumulating. And what happens then is the straw that breaks the camel's back is a true phenomenon. So if you watch any professional athlete go down with a torn Achilles or any professional basketball player, they're typically not hit at all. It's one step, and that's where the injury occurs. If you look at any athlete who tears their ACL, it's one step, that's where the injury occurs, and it's due to a long-term accumulation of stress in that area, and then the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, that's lower extremity, so let's go to upper extremity. I have x-rayed every patient I've seen in the last 47 years, and what I'm learning is that degeneration of the joints is occurring at younger and younger ages now, and there are reasons for that. But what is degeneration of the joints? It's where the disc spaces, you start losing disc spaces. The joint gets rough. So on an x-ray, you can see it's rough and it's thinner, and that's when people start losing height. They lose it in their joint spaces, and that's why you will have sciatica on one side, or that's why you will have back pain on one side or hip pain on one side. It's because of that imbalance in the hips, and therefore disc injuries will become injured on one side. The herniation or the bulge will be one side because all of the weight is on that side, or a significant portion of the weight. So you can affect the upper body and you can affect the lower body if those femoral heads are level. There's two contributors to femoral head height. It's the feet and it's the leg length. So we're going to talk about the feet and we're going to talk about leg length, but those two issues are monumental, and if you can address those when that athlete is young, you are going to change the outcome of that athlete's life. So let's look at a couple x-rays. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, we can see that this young man is 13 years old, and he has a 6.3 millimeter difference in hip height. And if you look at the pelvis that is on our left, it says W/ORTH. This is with orthotics on. So therefore, the only variable now is leg length. So he has a 6.3 millimeter difference in femoral head height at 13 years old. So now let's look at 15 years old, same young athlete. He's now 7.7 millimeters. And this is what I have said to people for years. Youth athletes' legs do not grow evenly. They don't grow evenly, and that's why it's mandatory every 1 to 2 years to get that x-ray to be able to see what the difference is. Now let's take a look at him when he is 17 years old. His difference goes to 10.6 millimeters. So this occurs in all of our athletes. Not only don't we know the baseline of where they're starting at the age of 12, we don't track them. We continue them in a pathway of overloading the body, and therefore there is going to be premature breakdown in these athletes, and this is one of the primary reasons why. Now, we just had a patient come in last week, a Division I runner, first year college, and she has a very chronic hamstring injury. And she has tried for 6 weeks to just let it rest, and it won't heal. So we look at her history because we've seen her now over the years. And if you look up there, we can see at the age of 13, we saw her, and she had an 8 millimeter difference with orthotics in the shoes. So what we would do in a situation like this is put a 7 millimeter lift underneath her low hip orthotic, and that would virtually level the hips. So now her feet would be symmetrical with the orthotics and her hips would be level. And that changes everything. That changes the whole picture. So now at 16 years old, she comes back in and we took another x-ray and we have a 1.5 millimeter difference. So now no lift is needed. And again, that's important information. But now she's been out for 6 weeks with a hamstring injury and we haven't seen her in 3 years. So we take a new x-ray this week when she comes in and she has a 12.1 millimeter difference. Legs do not grow evenly. So therefore, every time she stands, she's aggravating her injury, an injury she's hoping that will heal. And as I say, healing is simple. You have to do more good than bad. If it's not healing, turn up the good, turn down the bad until it heals. Well, she was keeping pace with the injury and it wasn't healing. So therefore, we put a 7 millimeter lift under her low hip orthotic. We're doing our laser therapy on her 3 to 4 times a week, and she will heal because that's what it takes. You have to balance the structure and then treat the injury. And so Dr. Mag's leg length test or the structural fingerprint exam are the 2 tests that will identify a lot of these imbalances and start the process of getting the athlete back to where they should be. But let's do it before they're injured, not after they're injured. So thank you for joining me. Be well. If you know any families that have youth athletes in the household, please let them know about our podcast, and we will see you next time.